Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Beans Recording, and the challenge in our Discord this month is make a piece of music with something to do with love. And that could be a piece of gear that you love, or it could be just a concept of love. And I'm going to do something special for that, but I also thought this is a perfect time for me to do a video on the Sequential Prophet X, a synthesizer that I love, and I don't know if a lot of people really know how cool it is. So this video, I'm going to show you a little bit about how the Prophet X works. I'm going to play some preset patches for you, and I'll just put these preset patches up for free on my Patreon. So if you want to grab them, just go over there and you'll be able to grab them. There's no custom samples or anything like that. So throughout this, you'll be hearing presets that I've made, which are named very badly. So they'll be named better for you. But yeah, let's dive into the Sequential Prophet X. So what is this thing? Well, it's a rompler, essentially. It's a rompler with analog filters. And I remember when this thing first came out, especially with the price tag, I was like, this ain't it. Because it's an expensive synth when it was being made. It's no longer in production. It's a rompler with analog filters that only has 8 voices at once, unless you skip the analog filters, then you can have 16. The sample data in here is done by 8DO. You can also load your own multi-samples on there, though I have not been able to figure out how to do that properly. It has 2 layers per program, meaning that each thing that you play can actually have 2 complete separate synth patches playing at once, and each one of those can have 2 samples and 2 oscillators playing at the same time. It's got the pretty classic collection of sequential effects and some really neat tricks up its sleeve, including semi-granular processing, sort of, and also the ability to use audio internally to modulate other things. It's got a pretty insane mod matrix. So let's build a patch real quick so you can get a sense of how this works. When you init a program, you get that. And if I turn this knob, we should see that we have these levels for things. So right now, there's no instruments loaded up, I don't think. So let's just play with our oscillators real quick. Here's oscillator 1 level, and here's oscillator 2. These are nothing crazy to write home about, but they do exist. We have different shapes, including supersaw. We do have pulse width. I don't know why it goes to 0 and then like the sound goes completely away. There's different settings for each of these oscillators, including sync, which has a button, glide, and slop, which is one of my favorite parameters, because what that means is that we can get that sort of like detuned oscillator sound. And obviously it sounds like a supersaw right now, but in general, it's a nice thing to have, because that's what they sound like, perfectly in tune. They're very digital. A little bit of slop goes a long way, as many of you know. So those are digital oscillators through an analog filter. Let's talk about the filter real quick. We have drive. We have resonance. We have key tracking. We have stereo split. And we have a dedicated envelope for it over here. I just say envelope. Here, let's do this. Super mono signal right now. I think we can actually do something about that. So I'm going to go here to just turn it off for a section. You'll get the whole thing. I'm going to go to panning here. And here I can pan my oscillators. Now you can hear we have our oscillators panned. Nice to have a little bit of stereo field. If I go to volume pan, pan spread, I don't even have to pan them. I can use that classic pan spread thing. Classic pan spread where every single voice is like left or right a little bit. I think this would sound good with a little bit of modulation on it. So let's go over to our LFO 4 and I'll do this. I can actually just do a destination in here. So I'm going to go to oscillator all frequencies and then turn up the amount. There we go. So I've got a little bit of wobble there. And that's on top of our slop. So that's the oscillator section. Nothing crazy, but you do have 2 oscillators to work with stuff. We can talk about the effects real quick. Over here on effect 1, we have a selection of effects, including stereo delays, bucket brigade delays, chorus, flangers, phasers, high-pass filters, distortion, ring mod, rotating speaker. This one's great. I think this is one of the best effects that Sequential in general has ever made. Isn't that cool? Before, boring. After, not boring. I think we're already cooking with gas a little bit here, right? Pretty damn cool. Turn that release down a bit. We do have a sequencer and an arpeggiator. So if I turn the arpeggiator on for this layer, let's go over to our ARP settings. We have ARP modes, as you might expect, octave ranges, repeats, which is really, really cool. And the crazy thing is, each layer here can have its own ARP. So we may switch to another layer now and edit that so you can get a sense of what it means to add those 2 together. But before we do that, oh look, this is already assigned the cutoff. I'm already good. So to say, one of these should be assigned to cutoff. We have an insane amount of samples on here. So these are the banks here. We've got things like ambience, bass, brass, choir, cinematic drums, effects, ethnic, guitar, keyboard, percussion, percutonal, piano, strings, synth, solo vox, winds, etc. The synth section is really cool because it has old wavetables that sound really good. Let me show you how these work. I'm going to go ahead and write a new program. We don't need to keep that ARP there. We can always go back to that. So let's go ahead and pick, turn off down our oscillators, turn up instrument 1. So the VS wavetables. It's just a really classic sound. So if I find a sound that has like a bunch of different samples in it like this, I can hit the stretch button, and now that one sample is what the whole keyboard plays. So that's one way that you can deal with samples. Like, for instance, if I go into ambience here, here's a great one. So this organic ambiences sample set has above here all the same samples, but down here, a whole bunch. So I like this one. So I'm going to hit sample stretch, and now it's all on the keyboard. Isn't that pretty? I can reverse it. So just already, like, you know, it's like contact in a box. If I turn this over here up and I turn effect 2 up and turn up the mix a lot on this thing and maybe turn the tone to the middle, time up. I already have something really, really cool. If I want to pick a different one, I turn off sample stretch and find a different one. So cool, right? I know I said I was going to get into audio rate modulation, but I want to show you some more sample stuff real quick. So the other thing that's cool, I mentioned granular earlier. If I go to like piano and I pick one of these beautiful 1928 grands, this does remind me that the one effect I wish that they had in these things was a compressor. A lot of their sounds in this are very organic and soft. I would love the ability to squish them together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to instrument 1 here, and I'm going to turn on loop. And now I have a loop. And if I make it small and I move it, you can hear that we have now a little repeating loop. So what I can do with this is LFO that center around. So assign source, LFO for assign destination. Can I do this? Oh, I can just go to instrument 1 center. And now what I'll do is I'll go to this and I'll turn its frequency down. So now we get this almost granular thing. So this would be an amazing layer to put over some strings. So let's do this real quick. I'm going to go to LFO. I'll just use LFO 4 again. So assign source, LFO 4, and then I will go over to destination, and I'll say instrument 1 Han. I don't know, but I just love that. Let's go back into our first instrument, go to our loop, and see if we have any crossfading. We don't. That's fine. That's fine. We have boost, we have glide, low pass filter bypass. So this is good because you may have some sounds that you want to be affected by the filter, and then you'll have some sounds that you just want to sound like this. So you can bypass the filter with individual sounds, which is very good for your different instruments. And it's just like pure Icelandic cinema. It's very pretty, isn't it? It's like, it seriously is this like moody Icelandic cinema machine, which is fine with me. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Let's choose just a strict oscillator for right now. Wonderful. I'm actually going to pick a sine wave because this might be very noisy. So what I'm going to do is turn that down for now. Let's pick something over here. That's a very wet toilet incident. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to turn that all the way down. Let's turn our sine wave back up. So I will go to the assign source, and I will say instrument 1 to oscillator 1 frequency. So this would be FM. Now you can hear that in there, right? You notice I have my instrument all the way down. So I'm frequency modulating our oscillator 1. Let's change our sample. Down here, it sounds like a DX7. So now you can hear that we're frequency modulating it with that sample. It's pretty fun. Let's go back to our thing here. Let's go to, let's see, what else do we have? Shape. So now we're frequency modulating the shape of that sine wave. Sounds pretty cool. Now we're audio rate modulating the pan of oscillator 1, which gives us this cool aliasing distortion, which I really like. So if we come over here and turn on effect 1 and change it to distortion, and get some really cool shit. And of course I can change the pitch on this. Cool, right? So this is a drum kit. So first of all, we have a cinematic drum kit in here, which is dope. So let's turn that back down. Yeah, it's just a neat thing you can do. It gives you the ability to add a lot of really cool texture to your sounds. Audio rate modulation is, in my opinion, a secret weapon for lots of stuff. I wish I could sit here and go through all the samples here with you. There are just some really wonderful ones. The other cool things that I love about this synth is that, again, you can have 2 layers, and each layer, as we've seen, has a combination of 2 instruments and 2 oscillators. You can have individual sequencers and individual, what do you call them, arpeggiators on each layer. That and like splits, like you can do an insane amount of stuff just with one patch. Hopefully I'm demonstrating some of that with the demos. I'm not going to set one up because it would take forever. But yeah, it's really, really cool. They knocked it out of the park with this, I think. And I think it just kind of came and went, mostly because it was so expensive, and people didn't really get it. The presets really don't do it justice. So if you sat down with this thing in a store at any point, you probably didn't really get the full picture. Okay, so that's so one of my favorite things to do is set up multiple of like a similar instrument, like an orchestral thing. So now we have 2 strings here, right? I'm gonna turn loop on both of these. For this one, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna tune this up to a 5th. Pretty normal so far, right? So then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to edit layer B. That's great. So this one, I'm going to tune up to an A. That sounds great. So this one, I'm going to put up to a D. So now I'm going to give each one of these a LFO. Turn down our frequencies. Now let's turn up our instruments halfway. Cool. So now I'll go back to this layer and You can notice that we're only hearing this layer now. We have to hit stack, but I'm going to do our LFOs first. And now we have something that you'll find in a modern contact instrument, like Fables or something like that. You have a multi-stack of different instruments, multi-sampled orchestral instruments, that are sort of flowing around with different pitches, and you just get this wonderful bed of stuff, of cinematic stuff. I could do this in a contact instrument, but honestly, I don't think I could just sit down and do this. Like, I'd have to like pick a specific contact instrument and hope that it had all the stuff in it that I wanted, that had the controls that I wanted, and that might not be a thing. So you can do this with all kinds of instruments. It's really cool. Thank you so much for watching. It's been really, really fun to show you this synthesizer. I think a lot of people slept on this synthesizer because of the price and because of the voice count, but I think that was a mistake. I have had some issues with mine. I got mine used. It was not mint condition like Reverb said it was. My modulation wheel was broken, so I had to send it in to them to get that fixed. And right now I've got some issues with my top keys. These top keys up here are sticking. Like I'll press them and I won't get anything out of them. I had to slam them down until I got something out of them when I first started this video. So I'm either going to send it in or open it up and see if I could like maybe deoxy it. The funny thing about what's inside of here is that it is a full-on mini ATX computer. There is a fucking computer in here with a hard drive and everything. I remember when some people figured that out, they like thought that like, oh, Sequential's out to get us. They put a computer in a synth, but fucking care. It sounds amazing. How else are you gonna do this, right? You work with what you have, right? So yeah, this is my love letter to the Sequential Prophet X. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jeremy, and I'll see you in the next video. Hope you have a wonderful day.